Hi guys, today we're going to be looking at an experiment in order to increase our children's critical thinking abilities and their understanding of bias and how to eliminate it in a scientific investigation. Now, for today's example, I'm using the example of water dowsing, but you can do this using almost anything that has some, let's say, subjective interpretations to it. So first of all, I'm going to do this using two different methods just to give you some ideas. But the whole point of this video is that you should be able to apply these principles to almost anything in order to get your kids thinking critically and to think about their own bias, their own subjective interpretations when it comes to scientific results. So what I've done is I've gone and got two random bits of wire, and the idea behind dowsing is that if I hold these bits of wire over water, they should cross over, and otherwise they'll be parallel. Now, when I've done this before, I've had my whole class doing this, and maybe not 100% accuracy, but let's say a good 80–90% of them all definitely 100% getting this true effect. Of course, in reality, it's not a real thing. It's down to what's called the ideomotor reflex. So I've got 4 cups of water here. Sorry, 4 cups, one of which has water. So we've got empty, empty, full, and empty. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold the rods over it, over each one. And we'll see here, they stay parallel. Over this one, they stay parallel. Over this one, they cross over. And over this one, they go parallel again. So we know that, wow, this one has water in it. Isn't that amazing? Okay. Now, if you big this up with your class, get them to really buy into it, get them to really think that there's some electromagnetic phenomenon behind this, then they'll all believe it, and they'll all experience this effect without them necessarily deliberately doing it. I was doing it quite deliberately there because I know it's a trick. But your class will experience this as what they perceive to be a real phenomenon, which is quite cool. Now, if you can't do it with bits of wire, you could create a pendulum instead. I've just used a ring on the end of a wire, and it'll go, let's say, back and forth. If there's no water, no water, no water, but it'll swing miraculously in a circle if there is water. And this last one should be back and forth again. And sometimes this one works even better. Okay, so you can use either one of these two methods. And for the kids, this will be a revelation for them. They'll think, oh, wow, this is amazing. We can use this to find water in the desert. However, what we then need to do is we need to say, right, okay, the thing is you can see the water there. All right, that's not a fair test. You know it's in that one. Can you think of a way of making this a fair test? Okay, because it could be, it just might be that your own psychology has some role to play in this. So how can we eliminate that as fairly as possible? And you can get them to brainstorm it. And a good solution is to make, with the person who's going to be doing the dowsing, hidden, with their eyes hidden, you mix up the cups in any order. So I'll tell you what, I'll move the water one to that one. And then you cover them so that they can't be seen. And so now, it's effectively just guesswork. Now, in my case, I have a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. I know which one it is, but the idea is your class wouldn't. And so by going over them, they might find that, oh, it crosses over at that one, but then, it's revealed as being an empty cup. So it's a good way of getting them to think critically about things like this. You can do this with almost any sort of experiment, and if you want ideas about other things that you can do this with, James Randi, who was a famous magician, psychic, and skeptic, let's not say psychic, mentalist and skeptic. He did a whole series, a whole video series back in, I think, the 70s and 80s that was based around this sort of thing, and he actually offered $1 million prize for people who could demonstrate some sort of supernatural prowess, let's say. And he would set up a fair test of these. I'll attach a couple of links to the bottom of this video of other things that might just get you thinking of different ideas that you could apply in the classroom. Obviously, don't be too controversial. Things like water dowsing aren't usually offensive to most people's sensibilities. But it's a really good experiment. It points out the fact that if we can see the experiment, we can therefore influence it as a scientist, and therefore it also highlights one of the most important principles of science, which is blinding. And that's what we've done here. We've now blinded the experiment, and that increases the fairness of it quite significantly. Cheers.